What is going on, everybody? Today we are going through the folding knife collection that the channel has accumulated. So let's get to it because we have a lot to get through. The first knife is the Gerber Propel Downrange Automatic. Pretty cool Tanto. When I got this knife, it was a little hard to get. Not too bad of a knife for Gerber. It's pretty snappy on the auto aspect. Does have the safety trigger there, so not a bad knife overall. I wouldn't say it's as good as some automatics out there. Obviously Gerber a little sketchy on some of their quality on some of their knives over the history, but this knife overall has very good ergos, feels good in the hand. That G10 makes it so you're not very slippery. Overall, really good knife, pretty popular with a lot of people. The next knife is the WE Synergy 2. This is obviously a Damasteel blade, so this is the more expensive version of the knife. Pretty much like this knife. It's a nice gentleman's kind of carry. Tanto, Persian Tanto blade, snappy. It took a lot to get snappy too. The detent on these knives, at least this one in particular, was really stiff when you first get it. But once it breaks in, it's super snappy and super comfortable in the hands, and it carries very nicely. That pocket clip works great, even though I know some people don't prefer that kind of pocket clip, but it still works good. The next knives, we'll say knives because there's actually two of them. This is obviously the PM2 Tanto, and this has the custom scales from Rock Scale Titanium. Love this knife and these scales on this knife. Really, to have a nice titanium PM2 is just it's great. I mean, these scales work great. They're not slippery. The grooves give you a little bit of feeling, like traction, and they're also coated, so it makes them even less slippery. The other one is the PM2 DLC blade, which obviously has the fat carbon scales by Rip's Garage Tech. These scales are very, very nice scales. Also has the matching pocket clip. You get in the sun, you get the black turns very silverish, and it's just a very, very sharp scales, and they just go really good, obviously, with the DLC blade. So there you go. Those are the two PM2s as they sit today. They will probably stay this way. If I was to customize another one, I would probably have to get another PM2 because I kind of like the way those are set up. Then the next one is the Reate K2. Now this is a custom version, semi-custom version also by Knife Joker. Obviously Damasteel blade, and the handle finish is what they call a tactical grip. It's got a combination of texturing on the handle. Very sharp knife. I love the K2. Obviously, this is the more expensive of all the K2s. Supposedly, they are supposed to be coming out with more K2s from the factory. Knife Joker also does get some of the custom versions into, so keep your eyes open if you're interested in that. And the next one is the CIVIVI Fracture. Obviously, slip joint. This is an okay knife overall. I'm not a slip joint person. A lot of people that are, say there is some question as far as, how the locks are from stage to stage. But it's an interesting knife. I thought it was pretty cool to check out, but again, like I said, not a huge slip joint person, but just not a lot of slip joints come in Tantos, so I snagged it up anyway to check it out. The next is the Benchmade Griptilian. And this was from the custom shop. So I got it in the blue scale, so a little bit different than every other Griptilian known to man out there. Action is very good. Finger flick either way you want. It's just, yeah, the action on this knife is just absolutely great overall. I know there's a lot of questions from time to time on action on some of the Griptilians, but this one from the factory, from the custom shop, was spectacular overall. And the next is the Boker Plus Kihon flipper. This is a cool knife. Obviously, it's all aluminum handles. Not a bad knife. A little tricky. D2 steel of around $100. It's very sketchy when you get into the price range of a knife like this, because with D2 steel, there's so much competition in the budget area. So, sometimes you can do a little bit better than that for the money, but it wasn't a bad knife. The next one is the Tuyaknife Hive 2. I love this knife. This very interesting knife. Good, aggressive Tanto. Love the fuller down the blade. It's got great ergos. Some nice chimping on the back of the blade there. Just really a nice knife. Action is very nice. Snaps right open. The hives in the scale does add for traction. I love how they even threw some on the non-show side. I mean, so often you see knives that don't have anything on the work side, so it's nice when they throw that in there. Then next is the PALLAS from Spartan blades. Detent is a little weak on this knife, but you can also snap it open. It is a button lock. Do love that, and it does work great. Lockup is perfect. Just a little on the weak side on the detent, but you can get that from some knives, especially when they're tactical knives, because they are made to snap open. So if you're wearing a glove, you don't have to worry about trying to get to the flipper tab or anything like that. So all in all, great knife. Love it. This one was in the S35 VN. I think, well, they're not currently making the Tantos, but the other knives like it are being made, I think, in S45 VN. The next knife is the Hinderer XM 18. This is the 3-inch. A little on the small side. We are still waiting for Hinderer to get into getting a 3.5-inch. Very much excited for that. I'm waiting desperately for some more Tantos to come out from them. And we will be getting some and hopefully customizing. I'd love to have one in all titanium. But this is a great knife. I love this knife in the summertime. This is probably one of my more favorite knives when I'm wearing lighter shorts in the summertime, because this knife has a small platform, doesn't weigh much of anything. So it's a great knife overall. It really is. The next one is Reeve Sebenza 21 in micarta, black micarta. I was going to say carbon fiber. Great knife, obviously. Reeve, synonymous for his hydraulic action. This one actually could be loosened up a little bit in the pivot. It's probably a little on the tight side. Great knife, obviously. Reeve is, getting all kinds of dirt. That one might need to be cleaned. We do use these knives. These are not case cleaned, so this one obviously, yes, probably needs some cleaning on that one. The next one is, if I can get it out of the case here, is the Mcusta Katana. This is not a bad knife. A lot of people like it. Very mellow Tanto blade on it. Action's pretty good. Right around $100. Liner lock. It was an interesting knife to check out. Detent, some people say, is pretty weak, and it is. It's kind of on that Again, on that tactical side, you're not going to just loosely shake it out, but with some authority, you can get it out definitely. Action overall, super smooth. Like I said, you can snap it open, pretty comfy in the hand, slim design, overall, pretty good knife. Moving on, the Microtech Ultratech Bounty Hunter. Great knife, snappy action, when I can actually get a grip on it. Very favorite knife of a lot of people out there. These things, they go fast when they come out. And obviously, the workmanship that goes into Microtech knives is great. And the Bounty Hunter is definitely a fan of a lot of people that are into Star Wars and into Boba Fett. So let's move on to the next one. And the next one is the Reate Knives. This is the Kirby Lambert Augustus frame lock. Very nice knife. Mellow Tanto blade, if you want to call it even a Tanto or a Bowie with a little recurve on there. Very nicely made knife. Action is superb. Snappy for such a big blade. I mean, this is a hefty knife overall. Not going to be a favorite EDC knife for a lot of people. This is just a big knife overall. So you really have to be a fan of big knives to really want to carry it. But other than that, our ergos are great. And it'll certainly get the job done for a lot of things out there. Moving on to the next one. And this is the carbon fiber Chris Reeve Sebenza 21 small. This is another great summertime, knife. This thing weighs nothing with that carbon fiber scale on the one side. This is as far as I know, is still a, I don't even remember the retailer now. I will try to figure that out and put it in the description. For some reason, I'm kicking up a lot of dirt. The great knife, though, very super small, very light, easy to carry. Obviously, it's a Chris Reeve. He makes great knives. And that is the small carbon fiber Sebenza 21. Next is the Cold Steel Recon Code 4. Recon, not Code 4. I don't know where that came from, but this is the Code 4. Another fun knife, probably my favorite personally when it comes to Cold Steel. Love the ergos. Love the slim handle design. Rugged, obviously. You've got your aluminum scales. Just a great knife. Very, light, very light for as big as this knife is. Great ergos and great overall. The next knife is the Artisan Cutlery Gavco design. This knife is questionable at best. It does have blade play in the blade. I've discussed that in the review of this knife. I was gonna send it back to him and decided not to, just because I just don't have a lot of time. And this knife, it took forever to get this knife. I ordered it and it just took forever to get, and I just didn't want to deal with any more chasing down people to get it replaced. The next is the Benchmade Bailout. Another great summertime knife when you're looking for a great EDC light small knife. This is the one with the aluminum scales. Great action on this knife. Very light. Nice Tanto blade. That coating holds up really good. This knife has been used. You can see some dirt and grime on the edge there from me using it on some stuff. And yeah, great knife overall. Love it. Action is great. Another one is a rarity you'll see around here, and that is a MTech. And this knife here is a button lock. It's very nice action on this knife. I was actually really surprised about how good this knife is. I'm really kicking up a lot of dirt today. This is a really good knife. I will put the you can see it's a USA design, the MT 1085 stainless steel. I wouldn't say that this is the best blade steel in the world, but if you're looking for a knife to just, you know, do a little cutting from time to time, but you want a fidget-friendly knife, this is a great fidget-friendly knife, obviously with the button lock and everything else. And I'll tell you what, I beat this thing. I deployed this thing thousands of times just to see if it would fail, just to see if it would loosen up. This thing just, I don't know if this was just a rarity, but this thing held up beautifully. And I beat the heck out of it. I deployed it, like I said, thousands of times. Really surprised of that one, of the action of it. The next knife is TwoSun. Drawing a blank. This is a front flipper. This is a cool knife. M390 steel. It is a night morning design. This is a cool knife. I'm not much for front flippers, so for me it's a little on the trickier side for deploying it, but it's a cool knife. I love how they worked the machining together, even with the pocket clip on both sides. It does offer great traction when you're using the knife. Like I said, as long as you can get beyond the front flipper aspect of it, it's a nice knife. Yeah, around $100, give or take, depending on eBay bidding wars. And then the next knife is the Hogue 01, I do believe. I think it says on it. No, it doesn't. 154 cm, as you can see right there. Swiss design. Great knife, button lock. Great action. Again, this is another knife I just fidget with a lot when I carry it, and it just holds up really good. Everything is solid on this knife. It's a big knife. You do have to like a big knife. It is a big knife, but it feels great in the hand. This is a worker's knife. If you need a big knife to work with, that's a great knife for working with. Moving to the next one, and this is actually a favorite of mine, Vero Engineering Impulse Mini. Love Vero's design work, the way he's putting knives out. They are hard to get, but when, you know, you won't regret it when you get them. I mean, he makes really interesting designs, great knives, and this is definitely one of those knives I would recommend. I'd love to get the full size. You do have that nice groove machined in there for middle finger flicking. Just really enjoy that knife. Love the clean machining all the way around. Love the flipper tab that doesn't protrude out and catch on anything. Great knife. Love it. Next is the ProTech. This is obviously the ProTech CQC 7 Emerson design, 154 cm. Love this knife too. Great knife, snappy action. If you know anything about ProTechs, you know they make a knife that can snap. They make just excellent side opening autos. And this is certainly one of them. It's obviously you're flat-sided on chisel grind, as Emerson's are always. And this knife is just an excellent knife if you're looking for a nice side opening auto. Next one is the CIVIVI Keen Netter. Love this knife. Cool knife. Liner lock for the money, $79 I believe, so $80. Super snappy action, just flawless action. CIVIVI is just knocking it out of the park when it comes to action. I love this knife, even with the slim handle. I'm not a slim handle person, but this one really, with that green micarta, feels great in the hands. Could be bigger. I would like it bigger, but for those guys that were looking for a little more of a slimmer knife to fit in the pocket, That is an awesome knife. Moving on to the next knife. And that is the Sick Boy Knife Works. This is a super cool little knife. When I saw it, I was like, man, I gotta have that knife. Just the detail, overall, the pounding into the pocket clip. The pocket clip, I could be a little bit better. There's just, the only flaw is there's just really no ramp to get in there, and that is a sturdy titanium pocket clip. But other than that, this knife, even though it's small, it feels great in the hands. It's beefy little knife, serious blade stock. This was a really fun, interesting knife for me to check out from Sick Boy Knife Works. Jonathan over there is just machining these things out pretty much all by hand, I do believe. And the machining is just very nice. You can get a really super snappy little blade, and it just feels like it wants to really get into some heavy action. Light recurve Tanto blade, just a super rugged feeling knife there without any doubt about it. Next knife is, who says tiny can't be snappy? This is the Protech Runt J4. Super small knife, as you can see. But, you know, this was made to be California legal. Obviously, if you're looking for a small knife for a fifth pocket knife, this thing is definitely got it. I mean, it's small, super snappy. You got to hang on to this thing. I mean, the snappiness of this blade, I mean, if you're not holding on to it as you push that button, this thing will fly out of your hands. It's amazing how snappy this thing really is. And obviously it has 154 cm steel, and it is a chisel ground. Still, again, kind of really just like it's a small brother to the CQC, basically, is what it really is. And it's a super cool knife for as little as it is. So if you're looking for a fifth pocket knife, or you live in California or someplace that has a lot of restrictions and you want an auto, this one might just fit the bill. And the next one is the Guardian Tactical Recon 035. Oh, this knife. Oh, God. The action of this thing is just absolutely amazing. It's just insane. I don't even know how to put it into words. Feels great in the hands. It's just, you know, LMAX steel blade. Love how he does the hollow grind in the front. Massive fuller in the blade, and the action is just absolutely super smooth. The next knife is the CIVIVI Brazen. Another awesome knife. Sickly. Just CIVIVI is just knocking it out of the park with these things. It is just absolutely unbelievable of the quality of CIVIVI these days. Just their action overall is just great. Any deployment mechanism is there. You've got your thumb studs, and it just flies. It's just a great knife, especially for the money. Next knife is the SOG, the Vision XR, CTS XP blade steel. This is a nice knife, very aggressive, tactical knife. You can see I've stabbed that thing into stuff. I mean, it's just a great knife. It has the XR lock, as they call it, and this is a fun knife. Love it. Doesn't come in too many colors or anything. So, you know, the black seems to be the easiest one to get. I got the FDE right from their website. Love the knife. Very, very nice. Action is great. It really is. Detents are good. You can shake it. Yeah. If you can get the right action, you can shake her out. The next knife is the TwoSun 206, that's right. Took me a second there to think about that one. And this is a multi-tool Tanto. Very snappy. The action on this, that walk and talk is very nice. Pretty cool Tanto blade. Comes with, you know, your scissors. Be careful. This thing is, everything about this knife is sharp, including the scissors and including the saw. And the action on everything on this thing is very, very sharp. This thing has gotten me a couple times. And very nice knife from TwoSun. You know, when it comes to a multi-tool in a Tanto, they're kind of rare these days, that's for sure. So it was very cool and interesting to get this knife and see how it would perform. And it's a very interesting multi-tool with a Tanto. Next knife is the Bestech Predator. Very cool blade design. Frame lock. Action is very nice. This was a really interesting. I really wanted to check one out. I love how they did take the Predator off the blade, just in case, you know, a cop was to see it or something, and oh, well, you're a predator, or, you know, whatever. A lot of people made comments about that, but they did take it off the blade, so that is nice. Action is just super nice, very smooth, feels good in the hand. Just the overall size, I love the overall size of this knife, and definitely a very good quality knife. Next knife is the CRKT. I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Yeah, I'll put it in the description. Kit Carson, that's right. Kit Carson M16 04S Classic, I do believe. It's a very cool knife too. It does have that little safety lock right there that keeps from the liner lock moving over. This thing is a monster. It really is. Their words can't describe. This thing is a beast. This is the aluminum scaled one. I do believe that this particular model is discontinued, but there's still some out there if you guys want to look. And I think they're still making the plastic versions of this, whatever they're made out of, G10. I'm not sure what they're made out of, but they're still, I think, going to be around for a while. This is a pretty much a classic knife. This is a beefy Tanto without question, and it's a great knife for the money too. I think this was like $80. Moving on to the CQC 7. The only thing I really don't like about this knife is it does have lock stick. Emerson is kind of known for that. And the flipper tab is certainly a huge shark fin. So, you know, cool knife. I mean, it's Emerson. Just what you expect to get from Emerson. Like I said, the flipper tab's a bit on the big side. You can obviously thumb flick it. You really can't get to the thumb disc for your middle finger, so you really can't middle finger flick it, but they're cool. This is actually a Knife Center exclusive, where they did the actual non-chisel. They actually went with a full V grind all the way around, although the edge is chiseled. So the edge still has a chisel. It's not only sharp on one side. So it was pretty interesting. I figured I'd check it out. I kind of like the orange and black colored scheme, so it was pretty cool to check out. Lots of versions of CQCs out there. The next is the Strider SNG. Absolutely love Strider knives. This is absolutely my favorite knife out of it. I've had knives from him before. This is a more expensive version because it has the aluminum scale instead of the G10 scale. Action is very nice. you know, not super snappy as far as it goes, but it doesn't have the lock stick. Some of the G10 versions that I've had in the past had a lot of lock stick. This thing is just absolutely flawless. It kind of really reminds you of Chris Reeve knives, you know, very mechanical, but I can actually middle finger flick this knife, so that's cool. I do like that. You can, a lot of times you can thumb stud it, and there's no lock stick, and very much love that knife. Next knife is the Ontario Knives Ultratech 2. Pretty cool overall knife, inexpensive, definitely a big hardy bladed knife for sure. Ergos are very nice for the money. Love the jimping and access to that liner, makes it easy for you to get to. Cool knife overall. The next knife is the Cold Steel Albion. Very nice knife for the money. What was it, 60 bucks? Nice flipper. Cool Tanto. Would have liked to have seen a little more of a blade on this knife to really stand up to, you know, the aggressive Tanto aspects. A little bit thicker, taller, but it's cool. Got a lock here for to keep your liner lock in place when it doesn't seem to want to. There it goes. So in case you have to really work with it, it'll definitely keep that liner on the blade. It's got a good lockup. Overall, pretty good action. Is on bearings. So it's nice to have a flipper from Cold Steel. That's not something that's super popular in his knives. So moving on, the TwoSun. This is a Wong design, M390. Trying to think of the name, and it's escaping me. It'll be in the comments below. This is an okay knife. There's a lot of contouring going on. It's very narrow. Makes it kind of easy for you to get your fingers on that lock, and that can kind of cause issues when you're deploying it. You really have to watch where you're putting your fingers. Very narrow. Not a super big fan of that, and the contouring too while you're trying to stay off that lock. You know, it's not really giving you a lot of places to put your fingers where they won't slip off, so it does take a little bit, but pretty cool design overall. I got this one just because they did the anodized purple on it, kind of like that. That seems to be something that's a little new for TwoSun to get into. Moving on to the next knife, and it's a Guardian Tactical Helix. This is a 2014, but it was brand new, actually. That's the funny part. I found it as a leftover on one of the websites out there. Love this knife. I mean, this for a 2014 knife, this knife is just super smooth. You can snap it open with a flick of the wrist, a hard flick of the wrist. It won't just shake open. Sounds like it's going to, but it won't just shake open. You really have to snap it. You know, these knives here, again, you're talking about an older knife, so things are a little bit different. Great carbon fiber, great contouring on it, very nice. I'd love to see this knife come back into a newer model and see what he would do today, you know, as far as everything goes, because it doesn't have a over travel stop on that, so that's something. It's, you know, wasn't probably a huge thing back in 2014. That's more of a nowadays thing, but the action on this knife is just absolutely beautiful for as old as it is. Moving on, get out, and it is the Tenchi by Hetrick. And this is a super cool little tiny knife. Very nice machining and just everything on this knife. These scales are all separate pieces, just a lot of detail going into. Duhara is the designer of these knives. These ones were made by Hetrick. So in Japan, they don't have very easy access to titanium. So these scales from his Japanese version are actually aluminum. So he had them over at Heretrick make the Tenshi in titanium. So little detent is a tad weak on him, but it's a super cool knife. Very, very cool knife to look at. He's definitely a knife designer that I will be watching in the future. And the next knife or knives are now we get to the Recon 1. Love this one. This is the satin version. This was a Blades Canada limited edition or exclusive edition blade. So very, very cool. And we'll bring the other one out too, and that's the American, well, not American, but what we can get in everywhere else is the DLC painted bladed knife. Now this one everyone can get, but the satin version's a little more limited. I did actually change the handles around. These were the handles, very aggressive, the old aggressive G10. So I changed them around with the newer G10 for the satin, because this would be my EDC version of the knife. So I changed the scales around on them, and I love the big aggressive satin blade on that knife. Love it. So let's get rid of these big boys. These are big, heavy use knives, no doubt about it. The next knife is the Bestech Sledgehammer. Cool, interesting blade design. Very aggressive. Very super smooth action. Just be careful. This thing is a guillotine. It can snap very. Make sure you keep your fingernail up there, because when you undo that lock, she just wants to really rip. Super smooth action. It's a bit of a small knife for me. I kind of prefer a little bit longer knife, but really cool knife. Make a great summertime knife when you're wearing those light shorts. Just be careful. That sucker flies open. The next knife is the Extrema Ratio. There we go. It took me a minute to spit that out. It's a liner lock, and it has a lock for the liner. This is a Italian-made knife, and it has a nice opening for the liner. Very mechanical feeling. You can snappy. It's pretty snappy for a knife that's, kind of very very mechanical. You could probably even loosen it up a little bit, probably too. Very cool, interesting knife. Very deep carry for those guys that like a deep carry knife. This thing will suck into your pocket and you won't even know you even have it. Fully flat ground blade, but still pretty thick and hefty. Just pretty interesting knife. Still in the middle of really checking this knife out, so a full review eventually will come out on that knife. Moving on to the next one is the Hinderer design Kershaw. This is the Cryo II. Just wanted to check this one out because obviously it's a Hinderer. I love Hinderer's knives. This is the old Hellfire blade design. Pretty cool knife. This is assisted opening. I don't like assisted knives. I don't think assisted knives have a place in this world, personally, in my opinion, with the way things are being made and the way CIVIVI makes knives. It's a very competitive market, and I think we can do away personally without the assisted, but if you still feel the need to have an assisted knife, this is a pretty cool knife. It's fully, I think, the steel. So, it's a rugged knife. I'm still kind of checking that one out too. Moving on to the next knife, and it's the TwoSun TS-136, I do believe. And this is a Mokhtar design. I think that's how it's pronounced. M390 blade steel. Very cool knife. It is a front flipper when you can flip it. I can actually flip this one good. Well, fairly good. I should say. I won't say really good, but I can get this one. Mainly because the tab doesn't catch my hands on the other side. Full big hardy frame lock, but it has that marbled carbon fiber covering up over it, so you don't ever have to worry about getting your fingers on it. Pretty cool, interesting Japanese Tanto blade. Super smooth action. This is a cool knife. Next up is the Boker Kalashnikov recurves. We got both of them here. That's the large and that's the medium. There is a small of this knife. These are pretty cool knives for inexpensive automatics. Obviously, they're not as snappy as a lot of knives. Very aggressive recurve Tanto. Very aggressive, but really kind of cool knives. They are practical, believe it or not. They are practical. And they are chisel ground edges. And a recurve makes for a little bit of sharpening trickery, so to speak. So, that probably will scare some people. These do come absolutely razor sharp. They do a great job on these knives. And they are very much enjoyable. They're definitely scary to look at. Those blades are definitely scary. And the next one is the Guardian Tactical Recon Elite OTF. This thing is a beast. This thing is massive. It is just, and its deployment is sickening. This knife is just freaking lovely. It really is. This thing is just a beast. It fires so hard. I mean, this thing is just spectacular in every way. Feels great in the hands. I mean, you're not worried about not getting a grip on this knife in any way, shape, or form. This thing is an absolute beast. And look at that blade. Aggressive Tanto with a double fuller and holes through it. And, this is their protective services standard issue. It's just a fun knife. Extremely aggressive. Not everyone's going to be able to have it because of the legal issues, but a super fun knife. The next knife is the Cold Steel Recon 1 Mini. Interesting knife. I actually like this knife a lot more than I thought I would. When knives start getting a little on the small side, I tend to not be as much of a fan, but this knife really, for as small as it is, feels good in the hand. Nice aggressive Tanto. OS 10A steel. Pretty cool. Very much. I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. And just overall, a fun knife to have. And guess what? I do believe that is it of the folding knives. I will probably do a video of the fixed blades. I don't have a lot of fixed blades because I did form this channel as an EDC channel. And folding knives are a lot better. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. That is the folding knives as they stand in early 2021. And obviously hit that subscribe button because we're always going to have more Tantos coming up on this channel. And have a great day. Bye.